is a senior software engineer at 910X. Welcome to the Hacktoberfest 2020. And Isuru, who is a software engineer at 910X. Welcome to the Hacktoberfest 2020. And also Netmi Atapatwaka, who is a trainee software engineer at 910X. Welcome to the Hacktoberfest 2020 Sri Lanka. And also welcome you all who join us today. So without further delay, let's move to our first session. I invite Netmiaka to give an introduction about 910X. Netmiaka.
I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, Akka.
Okay, thank you, Sudharaka. So, good morning, everyone. Like Sudharaka mentioned, I'm Netmi Atapattu. I'm a trainee software engineer at 99X. I've been with the company for about 4 months now, and like you guys are, I'm also an undergraduate. This is my third year, and I'm from University of Moratuwa. So before we get started with the session, I thought it's only fair that I give you a bit of introduction about the company and some overview of the company just to familiarize you guys. So let me share my screen, and with that I'm going to switch my video off because my connection is a bit unstable. Maldi, if you can you stop sharing the screen so I can, yeah, thank you. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so let's get started. When it comes to building digital products, it's rather complex, demanding, and uncertain. And that's where we come in. So 99X aims to create impactful digital products together. Looking into a bit of history, 99X is established in 2004. It's headquartered in Sri Lanka with offices in Norway as well. And currently we are providing high quality, high value digital products, product engineering along with research and development services. So speaking with numbers, we are a company with over 15 years of industry experience, with over 350 innovators, winning more than 50 awards, building over 150 digital products for our global customers. So looking into what we do in the perspective of services, we range from full stack development, product conceptualization, mobile applications, cloud migration, user experience, machine intelligence, and also in blockchain. And if you guys look into this slide, you can see it's a bit overcrowded. So that's because in 99X we have a multitude of technologies being used. Trust me guys, this is just not it. There's many more, but if I was going to put everything, it would have taken me a separate slide. So talking about this in a perspective of an advantage, the to a singular stack, you can either according. So 99X is facilitating us with depth and breadth in technology wise. So in terms of mastering in one technology, we have experts within our company. So in AWS perspective, we have AWS heroes, we have Microsoft MVP award winners within us. And talking about our culture, this is something that differentiates us from other companies because our culture is rather unique. And these are the 4 pillars that our culture is built upon. We are embracing and accepting challenge. So we take pride in pushing our limits of our capabilities. This will not only improve our career performance, but also provide us opportunities to enhance skills. And we also deliver excellence. We strive for excellence by exceeding our customer expectations. And we are also very responsible as a company and as individuals. And the 4th one is that we have a culture of openness. This emphasizes that we have transparency and also free, unrestricted access to knowledge. And about the company culture, we also have a flat hierarchy rather than a central authority. That means the company always values the opinion. So be it an intern or someone who's been there for a long time, our opinions, our input, our values are always respected and considered. So moving on, this is something you guys might be interested in, what we do in the perspective of initiatives. Apart from project work, we also have initiatives. So these are voluntary groups inside the organization that works collaboratively in different projects and do some initiative work. Initiatives in 99X are mainly divided into two categories. We have technology-wise initiatives and then people department. So to take an example, technology-wise, we have AWS focus groups, we have Azure focus groups, then we have Java, then we have our open source initiative and IoT initiative, just to name a few. We have sports initiative, we have music, CSR, and quiz initiatives as well. So just to let you guys know, today's session is a joint project by Uni Relations and Open Source Initiative. So if you guys have had a passion or an interest, or you guys have been actively involved in some kind of a sport from back your school days and you have continued it to your university and you're wondering what the future holds for it if you go out there and work, not to worry. If you join with 99X, you can continue to do your passion and you can continue to get involved as much as you want. And if you guys have not been involved in any such work, but you have always been interested, but just not have gotten the opportunity, 99X is the best place to start and grab opportunities because there are so many ways you can go. And looking into awards, like I mentioned earlier, we have won over 50 global recognitions, but I'm just going to highlight the most important one we take pride in, that we have been awarded the best workplace to work in Asia for the past 8 consecutive years. So like I said, we've been around for 15 years, and out of 8, which we have been awarded as the best workplace to work. That is almost an impossible place to come over time. And as you guys can see, these are some of the products we deliver. Most of them have been in the industry for more than 5 years, if you guys can see, some for even 13 years. This shows that we have consistency and reliability of the products we deliver to our customers. And this is our dream team. So these are the people that translated our vision into a reality. So you guys can see we have Dan Honingswag, our chairman, our own Mano Sekaram, founder and CEO, and 80% of the stake is held by our management team, who are the remaining people. And again, another interesting slide. You guys might even recognize few of the seniors in your university, or some people you might recognize from our company. And leaders without titles, what this denotes is that the innovation bit in 99X. So exploring on your own experiments is a big part of innovation. 99X gives opportunity to everyone to be a leader by allowing them to bring new concepts to the table. So like I mentioned earlier on, if you are an intern, even if you're generally new to the company, if you have come up with some new idea, if you have input, and if you want to start up an initiative, it's not impossible at 99X. Anything is possible here. And again, something you guys might be interested in, the university distribution. We recruit interns from a range of universities, as you guys can see clearly on the slide. We don't recruit developers, we recruit, and it's normally not just according to your degree, but also your capabilities and attitudes. It's very important that you have an attitude which is making you able to adapt and innovate, because that's important characteristics we see from any individual. So speaking of the 4.0, and they evaluate the technical and soft skills according to the industry expectation for an intern. And they have a review over in every 3 months and 6 months. So that's about it for the introduction. Let me stop sharing the screen. Okay, but before we dive into this session, let me talk about my personal experience for a while. I've been with the company for 4 months now, like I said, and we were joining on board while there was an ongoing pandemic. So I was terrified to join to a new company, new environment, new working culture in a state of in a state like that. But our uni relations team, we had a remote mentoring program for 2 months just to ensure that our transition to the company was done very smoothly. And even our project team was making us very comfortable to the new environment, and they made sure that we adapt easily. And also talking about the internship 4.0 program, we have our own evaluations, like I said. So every 3 months we have an evaluation, and that kind of gives us a tailored program for like a tailored map, customized map according to us, what we should concentrate on the next few months, what our plan should be. It recognizes our weaknesses, our strengths, and recognize us as individuals. So working here and being recognized as an individual had given a sense of accomplishment. So the internship program is actually a one of a kind experience. You guys should come and try it and see. So like I said, if you guys are looking for a great place to work where you can fulfill your passion and also give back to the community, I think 99X is a great place to start with. So that's it for my introductory session. Now I'm going to hand it over to Suraya so we can dive into the technical side. Over to you, Suraya.
Yeah, thank you, Netmi. So hi guys. Give me a second to share my screen. Hope you guys can see my screen.
Not yet, Suraya.
Right. Okay, 1 second.
We can see your screen, Isuru.
Yeah, I'm trying to open the slides. Okay. Okay, so hi guys. I'm Isura Singh, a software engineer at 99X. So I was undergraduate at Wellassa University. Some of you might know me. So we'll start off with this session. So basically, one of the requests from your side was to do a brief introduction to open source and how to contribute to Hacktoberfest. So we'll look into that. So afterwards, Omalaya will be doing a session on React Native. Oh yeah. So yeah, first I'll talk about what is open source. So uh, pretty basically, all of you might know already. So basically, open source software is basically a software where the source code is openly available for anyone. So you could use it to study, change it, or maybe even to distribute. So basically, one of the guidelines of open source is basically you could even distribute the software without restrictions. So you could modify it and make improvements to that software. So one of the most popular uh, one of the most popular repos in GitHub you might know is Linux. So Linux OS is open source software. So so it's also maintained in GitHub. So we will talk about Git and GitHub in a moment. So basically, open source software allows for collaboratively developing software. So unlike closed systems where a group of developers develop the system, an open source software that is hosted in a repo like GitHub, you could basically collaboratively develop, and anyone could see the source code and contribute towards improving it and finding out any issues in them and stuff. So moving on. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a GitHub repo. So you might have seen where in various applications, when you're downloading, there's source download and binary download. So source downloads basically means you get the entire source code of the program. So binary is actually the finally compiled version that the end users will be using. So likewise, you might have seen there are source releases as well. So uh, basically, likewise, you could get the source code from such downloads, or even from even from GitHub, not only from GitHub repos, you could also get the source code likewise. And there are various other platforms as well for hosting source codes and for for collaborative development. So yeah, so next we will move ahead and start to understand about Git and GitHub. So yeah, give me a second, guys. Yeah, so talking about Git and GitHub, so one of the main things that lots of people gets confused about is what is Git and GitHub when they are initially getting to understand about open source and all this collaborative development. So Git is basically a distributed version controlling system. So basically you could use this to collaboratively work with others and like make sure like there are no issues. So different people develop different features of the system, and so basically Git ensures that there are no conflicts between whatever that you are developing between several developers. So likewise, it's a software for version controlling. So GitHub is basically one of the source code, one of the places where you could host your source code. So basically, GitHub is not the only place. So there are other places like GitLab, Gitbucket, SourceForge, and even there are commercial ones like you could host your code on Azure DevOps. So likewise, there are various places you could collaboratively work on. So these are some of the popular ones. So GitHub is probably one of the most popular ones out there. So we will look in how to use Git and contribute to some of the how to contribute to repos in GitHub. So that's basically what we will be doing for Hacktoberfest, right? So basically, uh, we will look into how to uh, do that with Git and GitHub. So I'll move ahead and outline a few basic concepts when that you should be familiar with when using Git. So yeah, so one of the so first thing is cloning. So also there's another one called forking. So that is actually not exactly related to Git, but it's mostly something a feature in GitHub. So I'll go ahead with cloning. So forking we will look when we are doing the hands-on session. So cloning is basically you are so now basically GitHub is where the source code is hosted at. So that's where the main repo is. So basically you will be cloning it into your local machine. So in that case, so basically it's copying the remote hosted GitHub repo to your local machine. So you could start developing features on top of whatever the repo that you cloned. So basically you have to just give git clone. So if you check on GitHub, there's a option to copy the URL of the repo that you're working on. So you could basically take git bash. So I hope all of you have installed git bash. So in git bash, you could basically give git clone and give the repo URL, and it will clone a copy in your local machine. So now let's say you want to develop a new feature on this repo that you clone. So in that case, you need to create a new branch. So as you all know, so basically master branch is where the main source code is at. So afterwards, once you clone the repo, what you get is the master. So afterwards, you could either switch to one of the existing branches. So basically, a branch is used to develop a specific feature. So that means now let's say you are developing a calculator. So maybe one developer is developing a function which will accomplish addition, adding two numbers. So that feature you will develop in a separate branch. So also always give a meaningful name. So so basically to create a branch, you give the command git checkout. So if it's a new branch, you have to give the command line argument b, and then pass the new branch name. So now in our case, now let's say we are developing a function to add two numbers. So then uh, add add two number function or something, you could give a very meaningful branch name. So afterwards, you could start developing your code. So all of these will be tracked under that a specific branch that you are developing that feature on. So, or if not, if there's a separate branch that is already existing, you could basically give git checkout and the branch name. So that will basically switch you to that branch. So basically, git checkout means you are checking out to a certain branch. If you are giving the B argument, you could create a new branch. All right. So afterwards, once you have created a branch, you could start developing your code related to that feature. So in that case, uh, you could basically, after you develop something, you could commit that. Okay, you could basically uh, add that file to staging. So staging basically means like, now let's say you have done some development, so you want to uh, prepare it to be pushed to the remote repo. So in that case, you give git add, and then you have to type the file name that you have developed. So in that case, git will add it uh, to the commit that you're going to do. So basically, so once you give git commit, so a commit can have multiple files. So in that case, so now let's say you are developing, let's say you added a comment explaining the feature you're going to develop. So in that case, you could give git commit m and then say added comment on the feature or something like. Likewise, whatever the development you did, you have to give a message explaining what you did. So in that case, so each of these commits could track what steps you followed in developing your feature. So always make sure that when you're doing a commit, all the files related to that commit are added. So in that case, so and then give a meaningful message. So anyone reviewing your code afterwards, the feature you develop, they could see what kind of steps you have followed in developing this feature. So basically, you add the files that related to whatever the step you are developing of your feature by using git add. Then after adding all these files into git, you could commit them with a commit message explaining what specific thing you did. So whatever the steps you followed, you could basically explain. So in each commit, you could explain what steps you followed in developing your. So likewise, this makes it easier for other developers to understand what you were doing. So once this is done, so basically, so you try to stage new features you in the repo. Yeah. So basically, the same thing I said the slide explains. So yeah. So make sure you nicely follow nice commit messages along with whatever the steps you followed in each of these commits. Okay, so nextly, what we should be doing is before pushing your code to the remote repository, you have to take a pull from the remote repo. So in that case, git pull origin means so the original or the origin repo that means the remote repo basically that you took the clone from, you are going to take a pull from it. So either you could give the branch name to be pulled. So in that case, branch can be pulled. So pulling will basically see if there are any changes on the main repo. So now if you take an open source project, there could be the same branch could have multiple commits done by different developers. So in that case, there could be conflicts that are arising between the code you developed and the code someone else developed. So in that case, you have to definitely take a pull from your repo before you commit your code. So in that case, you could see whatever the changes that have been done, whatever the new features that have been added to the repo in the source code, or if someone else have already developed the feature that you are developing. So in that case, like if there are any conflicts between the code you have done and the code that the other person have done, in that case, so you have to resolve all these Hello. I think I had some issue. Hope you guys can hear me and see
Yes,
my
sir.
screen now.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So as I was saying, yeah. So basically, it is a good practice to take a pull from the remote repo before you start developing. In instance, so let's say you have half done work that you save for the day and you come in the next day. So before you start working, it's always advisable to take a pull. So to make sure that you are up to date with the remote branch. So in that case, there won't be any conflicts when you are pushing your code. Yeah. So after you are done with that, you could push your code. So now we have taken a pull and resolve all these conflicts between the code committed by others. So in that case, you could go ahead and push your branch. So in that case, you have to give the name of your local branch. Git push origin means the remote branch. So that you're going to push. So in that case, that branch will be published to the, if it's a new branch, it will be published to the remote, or otherwise, uh, the remote branch in the remote repo will be updated. So basically, pushing a branch means all the commits under that branch will be pushed to the remote repo. So once you are done pushing, so you will get a, in GitHub you will get a notification saying you have updated this branch. So from there you could create a pull request. So pull request is basically you are requesting to merge your code from will make it easier for whoever is reviewing your code to understand what you have done exactly. So in that, so always make sure that you have meaningful commit messages as well as meaningful branch names. So always ensure that someone else who is reviewing your work can understand what you have done. Okay, so now we'll move on to a quick hands-on session. So in order to save some time, I'll go through a simple one. So now let's say you are going to contribute to Hacktoberfest. So firstly when you go to a repo that you are willing to contribute to, make sure you check the issues tab. So most of the time they will have it labeled saying Hacktoberfest or something. So this is what some of the issues we created for a hackathon we did called Hactitude for inter-university hackathon we did. So I'll take one of these. So okay, so we'll go with adding the code of conduct. So I have prepared a code of conduct file earlier. So now one of the issues raised here is to add a code of conduct file. So we'll see how we can do that. So unless you are a contributor of this repository, you can't. So unless you are a contributor of this repository, you can't directly make pull requests and stuff to this repository. So in that case, you need to fork this repo into your own account. So in that case, here you can see the fork button. Basically, so simply click it and then have this repository cloned in your own account. So now you get a fork from 99x incubator. So whatever the repo that you fork, so it gets cloned in your own local in your own repository, GitHub repository. So from here on, go ahead and clone it. So yeah, so I'll clone it here in my desktop. So I'll open Git bash here. So once you install GitHub, you get all these commands in your right click menu. So yeah. Okay, so I got my Git bash here. So now what will I do is basically give git clone and then paste the URL I just copied of my repository and paste it here. So in that case, that will get cloned in my local repo. So now I have it cloned here. So this will be cloned inside to a folder. So we need to switch to a directory. So we have to give cd and then the folder name. So once you switch into that, just give a git status and see the status of your current repo. So now you can see once you run git status, you are on branch master. So initially when you clone, you're on the master branch and it says that the branch is up to date with origin. So that means there are no changes done since we have cloned the repository. So now we could open this up. So you could open this up in your preferred editor. So I'll go ahead with VS Code. And then I'm going to create a new file of code of conduct. So I added the code of conduct MD file. So here I'm going to, so for the purpose of demonstration, I have earlier on prepared a file to be added. So I'll just paste it here. So in that case, now once you have saved this, so if you use something like VS Code, you could simply get track of the changes in the editor itself. So, but for the purpose of understanding Git bash, I'll go ahead and show how you would do this in the command line. So here you give again a Git status. So now you can see that there has been one untracked file called code of conduct. So that is the file that we just created. So in that case, so now you might remember that we are still in the master branch. So, but that is not a good practice to directly commit code to master branch. So I'll check out to a new branch, git checkout B, and then add the branch name. So I'll give this as add code of conduct. So now we will be switched to a new branch called add code of conduct. So if you go to git status, so now we are under add code of conduct branch. So, and under that branch, we have one file called code of conduct, which we have created. So now I will go ahead and add this file onto our branch. So I will add this file. So now this added file, we need to link it to a commit. So in order to do that, I need to give git commit and give a message added file for added code of conduct file. So this will be my commit message. So anyone who reads it knows that what this commit does is adding the code of conduct file. Now if you check the git status, you can see that one commit is added to our branch and there are no files that have not been committed. So we have already committed all our files that have been added into one of these commits. So now, so like I said, before we push this, let's take a pull Yeah, so since this is a new branch, we actually don't have to take a pull. So if you're taking a pull, if you are developing something on an existing branch, so let's say maybe master, you're in the master. So in that case, before you do any feature changes, make sure that you take a pull from the master. So which we already did initially when we initially create clone the repo. So it will take the latest code from master. So if you want, you could take a git pull origin master just to make sure that there nothing is changed. So it is already up to date. We can see that there's nothing that have been changed. So now we could go ahead and push this new branch that we created, git push origin, and then we give add code of conduct is our branch name. So we'll give that. So now this will be pushed to the remote repo. So once you try to initially do a push or something like that, it will ask for your GitHub login. So enter your credentials there. So I will enter my credentials. And login. Okay. Yeah. So now you can see the code is getting pushed. So yeah. Now you can see it is pushing the change that I have done. So now it's telling us to go ahead and create a pull request in the remote repo. So now you could go to your code, and here you can see there's a code of conduct file. The commit, sorry, the branch that we created, it's here. So it is asking us to create a pull request to uh, merge the changes to our repo. So here, so I'll just give a so something like this. You could give a message outlining what you have done. So now, so this is in our local repo. So we'll just go ahead and merge this. So since we already know what we have done, so we'll just merge this. So this is being merged in our forked repo. So that means basically, yeah. So from our, so if you notice here, so basically the pull request has automatically redirected me to merge the code into the incubator itself, like, so basically the original repo itself. So here from my forked repo, I have this branch add code of conduct. From that, I'm going to commit to the 99x incubator repo to its master branch. So in that case, you could go ahead and directly create the pull request. Now, since I'm one of the contributors in this repo, I could go ahead and merge this. So I'm not going to do that, but I'll just show you the pull request that I created. Yeah, so basically, whoever is reviewing this PR will get this message along with the commit. So here you can see my description is there of what I have done, and then you can see. So once you click on these changes, so you can see whatever the changes that have been done appears up here. So for each commit, you could go ahead and so whoever is moderating the repository can go ahead and check all the changes you have done. So when you make sure that all your commit messages are very meaningful, they could easily understand what you have done and keep track of and take understanding of what you have done in your code. Okay, so once he approves of it, he'll merge it. So I think in case of Hacktoberfest, they add a label saying Hacktoberfest approved or something. So anyhow, so that's basically it for the developing when it comes to Hacktoberfest or even for any kind of open source project. So I'll go ahead with my presentation. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about Hacktoberfest. So Hacktoberfest is basically an annual open event organized by DigitalOcean. So their purpose is to get more people, more developers into contributing into open source software. So as an encouragement, they give various gifts and swags for people who can complete it. So 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 a few things to note about Hacktoberfest is, so you have to go ahead and register under their website. So on the event website, you have to register with your GitHub account. So then only it will start tracking on the PR that you are making. So you need to make sure to create 4 or more PRs. So it could be to the same repo or different repositories on GitHub. So as long as you create 4 meaningful PRs that have been approved by the whoever is maintaining the repository, you are eligible to get the swags or whatever the gifts they are giving away and to complete Hacktoberfest. So make sure to, when you are contributing to whatever the repository, make sure you follow, read and follow their guidelines. So different repositories have different guidelines to them. So maybe the code formatting or maybe the styles followed. So if it's a front end development repository, basically be various styles to follow when developing your code. So likewise, there are various contribution guidelines. So always make sure that you follow them. So also please make sure that you do meaningful PRs. So just don't just go. So I have another slide on that. So always make sure that you do a meaningful development and always make sure that it contributes to the repository rather than just doing it for the sake of completing Hacktoberfest. Just always look into creating meaningful PRs that will actually contribute to whatever the repo that you're working on. So from what I read on their guidelines, so if your PR is approved, they will label it as Hacktoberfest accepted. So as long as you have pull requests that have been labeled as Hacktoberfest accepted, they will be eligible to towards the progression of your Hacktoberfest event. So this is one thing. Yeah, so this is one issue that happened this year. So basically, one of these Indian YouTubers have put a video on how to contribute to GitHub in Hindi, and then people, even non-developers, have gone ahead and followed those steps and just created really useless PRs and spamming all these repositories, creating PRs just to get the swags from Hacktoberfest. Have added like simple words in README files and stuff. So yeah, so don't be that person. So always make sure like you do some meaningful developments in the codes. Make sure to look into issues that have been reported in those repositories and see what kind of contribution you can give. uh, Always choose a repo that you are familiar with if possible, or if not, you could go ahead and learn while you are developing for repo, and also make sure you follow coding standards and all that. So most of the time editors have all these auto formatting and stuff, so make sure to use those and follow like neatly align your code and all when contributing. So yeah, that's all from my session. So if you guys have any questions, I guess we'll take them at the end of the session once Omal Aya is done with his session on React. So over to you, Omal Aya.
Thank you, Yusru. Okay. So let me share my screen with you all. Okay, okay. Hope you all can see my screen. Mhm. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, guys. So this is regarding React Native development, and first few minutes up to like 20 minutes, we'll be discussing through few theoretical points, and then we can look into how to build our first application, and that will be really nice and simple application. And some of the points I need to keep simple, so I will show you in the abstract way. And whenever you get familiar with the technology, you can go ahead and learn deeper into those points, and build your own application in in different ways of in different means, in the sense of requirements or as your desire. All right. So as you all know, I'm Omar Pereira, and I have been involving in mobile development for last 2 years, and so you all can ask any question from me, and you can post it in the chat, or even note it down for shoot me at the end of the session. All right. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in today's session. First thing first, so we'll look into what native and hybrid applications. Most of the people know about these things, but to start from the ground, we'll cover those points as well. And motivation to go with hybrid technologies, that's why we are using hybrid technologies like React Native, Flutter, whatever technologies that will make our day easy. And then a little intro to React Native, and followed by key elements in React Native. Then we'll go to our hands-on session to build a React Native application. Um, so I think you are familiar with these diagrams. I mean, the the technologies represented from these images. Uh, uh, Android and iOS are basically for the leading native technologies that that were in the industry for long years, and they actually supported a very big way to developers, and there are lots of applications in Play Store and App Store which will cater day-to-day requirements. And then the concept came with the name of hybrid, and we have seen lots of technologies like Xamarin, Ionic, and then React Native, Flutter, and technology will evolve, and we will be able to see lots of new technologies as well in future. So for now, we are going to discuss about React Native, which will be uh, uh, which we can use in order to make Android and iOS applications with the same code base. Okay, so as we all know, native applications are the applications which are supported for a specific platform. In order to develop that, they have given specific tools or SDKs or even languages to developers, so that they can develop those native applications like Java or Kotlin for Android, and then Objective C or Swift for iOS. And leading companies behind them are Google and Apple. So those are the providers of devices in order to run those sort of OSs and applications. And when we discuss about advantages and disadvantages, uh, native applications are good with their hardware, because let's say, let's imagine it's a iOS application written in Objective C or Swift. So there, the Apple company have made the devices in order to run in optimized way. So we can use camera or hardware, maybe sensors, gyro sensors, accelerometer. All those sensors can be used in very efficient way when it comes to native applications, because almost all the APIs are given by Apple uh, through their SDKs, so developers can use them. But when it comes to hybrid, so it should be gone through another layer in order to access those hardware components, which we will be covering in another few slides when it comes to the architecture of React Native. And if we discuss about the speed, performance, or React responsive experience, again, native applications are a bit ahead than hybrid applications, because the previous reason that I explained, like resource consumption, is very efficient. So let's say a gaming application that will be bit more smoother on native applications rather than hybrid applications. And when we talk about disadvantages, now for this development, we should maintain two projects and two teams even. So a Java developer cannot actually do development on iOS regardless if he's specifically learned that technology like Objective-C or Swift. But when it comes to hybrid technologies, the concept is bit different. So we need to pay developers, so the cost is bit high, and maintenance is also we have to do separately for iOS application and Android application. That is also keep us costing. And finally, that's bit costing. And the components or the modules that written for iOS cannot be used for uh, uh, Android devices or Android applications. So that's also a sort of a disadvantage. Um, so when it comes to hybrid applications, it is sort of a combination of native applications and web applications. Web applications, in the sense, if we look into few years back, the concept was running an application inside a browser shell. So if you can remember, we had a technology called Apache Cordova, and then it translated into Xamarin. So the concept was write the application with HTML and execute it in a browser shell, which is bit invisible, and user thinks it is running in mobile device as an application. So we are picking that technology, and we have developed it, and now we have sort of a native a bit intelligent hybrid applications which act as a native application. And that can be easily visible in React Native and Flutter, because they have a different architecture which optimized the hybrid applications to run styling and so on. And we are actually using JavaScript for development, plus TypeScript. Okay, so now hybrid applications are responsive we can see the responsive design, and it's easy to develop, and it's almost doing a good job when it comes to performance, and it has the ability to function in offline ways. And as I explained you earlier, developers can use HTML, CSS, XML like programming languages in order to develop those applications. And let's say we should do a big feature, and sometimes we might find those features as modules. So if I need to integrate push notifications, I don't need to go and implement that feature by myself, but I can use some sort of SDKs or NPM modules from open source contributors. We have libraries developed for those things, and do my the work easily. Um, those are few points for hybrid applications, and that actually made the day easy for developers. Few points about its advantages. It's very economical, as we discussed. For the advantages of native applications, uh, unlike that, we don't need to develop two applications for um, uh, two applications with hybrid applications. So with one code base, it's easy to I mean, we can develop two applications for both of the main platforms. And with the help of the providers, let's say React Native or um, uh, the Flutter, they have given few of the endpoints or the API so that we can use them in order to use their hardware uh, resources or the sensors like things. So in order to use camera, we don't need to go and write to the hardware level. They have given a few endpoints so that we can ask camera to get open, capture a picture or record a video and save it. um, as the disadvantages, it's bit slower than native apps, that we have to agree, because it should go on through additional layer. And we sometimes we have to depend on third party modules. As I explained, these hybrid applications are using lots of technologies in order to accommodate in a native application. So that bridge or the ground is prepared by different set of third party modules. So we have to depend on those things. If they update it, we also should update our code base, uh, I mean, match to the versions and dependencies. So some limitations are there in experiments. Some of the modules that we are using might not support some of the features that that should be in our requirement. In that case, we might need to change the module, or else we have to go and implement the specific feature that we need. So those are few disadvantages, but overall, I see it's a good, I mean, I see a good future for hybrid applications, and it's very much easy to go with hybrid applications rather than going with native applications. um, those are few hybrid frameworks which supports to develop hybrid applications. And I haven't include React Native in this chart, because we'll be discussing in deeper in future slides. So Xamarin was there, and then Ionic came into the game. Then Flutter is also doing a great job, and it's a great uh, candidate in hybrid technologies in these days. So let's look into React Native a bit deeper. Uh, Now its motto is learn once, write anywhere. Uh, that actually says that you need to learn once, and you can develop lots of applications for any of the platforms. Very recently, they have given us the capability to write some desktop applications even, like we can write applications for Macs even. Okay, so what is React Native? React Native is sort of open source mobile application framework created by Facebook. So for some sort of time, Facebook used this technology internally and they made it open source. Now we have a big community who are uh, who are developing and supporting and contributing to React Native framework. It's a JS framework and it natively rendering mobile applications for iOS and Android. Uh, Based on the Facebook's uh, JS library, users can build their own UI and they can use lots of features given by default framework and target different mobile platforms. Now, when it comes to developing UIs, uh, we have the opportunity to build UIs with XML like uh, language we called as JSX. We'll be looking to and practically use it in later of these slides. And the important point here is React Native use a bridge, which to do the communication between hardware and the JavaScript code that we are going to implement. So let's get an example. If I need to open camera, so I can't directly execute the SDK given by Android. So for that, React Native has given a sort of bridge and expose few of the terminals. We call it as APIs. So we can trigger that API and get the work done. So the bridge is actually responsible for communicating with uh, native SDK and the JavaScript code that written by us. Okay, so those are the points that actually we need to discuss. Let's look into the simplified architecture of React Native. So the right side of this dotted line is to denote native application or the operating system. Let's imagine it's iOS platform or Android. Then the left side of this dotted line is to denote our application. So this is the code which we are actually coding in order to create our application, and this is the bridge that is actually given by React Native, and those third-party modules are also providing few capabilities for this bridge. So let's pick one feature that we all know. Let's go with audio. So we need to play a sound. So if we are on the Android platform, we easily can invoke the this module through the SDK given by Android, but it's not very similar to do it in our JavaScript application, because now we are coding this React Native application with JavaScript or TypeScript, but here the the process is happening through maybe C++ or at the end Java or Kotlin. So that conversion or the translation part we have to do in somewhere else. So for that, the bridge is implemented, and the purpose of this bridge is doing that translation. So here we have a different set of modules responsible for communicating with these modules, and they have given a few endpoints or APIs which can be invoked through JavaScript or TypeScript. So whenever we need to play a sound in our device, we just need to call this JS supported API, and that will translate into Java or Kotlin, and then play the sound with Android hardware. So that this is very similar to the thing happening in iOS as well. Okay, so why we are using React Native? React Native actually supports for optimal way of performance by optimizing the optimizing the behavior of the bridge, and we can reuse the code that we coded for one app, and we can build the same code for two platforms, um, or even more than two. And we have large community, and by using that community, it's very easy to get answers for any difficulties that we are facing when developing the application. And we can get support with already built components or modules. So that's very easy. You even can see the stats from Stack Overflow. So there are few programming languages that are with least community support. So in that case, we are like helpless. If we get into a problem, there are no one to help us. But in React Native, we got lots of community, and it's more like to React. So React community also can help in some scenarios. So it's very easy to work in React Native. And if it is cost effective, why? Because we write once and we can build it to any platform. So we don't need to hire developers who know who knows actually a different programming language like Java, Kotlin, Objective C, or Swift. And even when it comes to maintenance, the number of bugs we are getting is uh, like divided by two. Like if we have two apps for two platforms developed by Android and iOS. So in that case, if bug arise, we have to fix it in two platforms. And even if we get a feature, we should implement in both of the apps. But here it's bit different, because we should edit only one code base and we can build it for both of the platforms. And we have very huge range of third party plugins written by open source developers. And we can use any of third party modules in our code in order to uh, get our requirement converted into the real world feature. So some of the modules are very good and handled by very known communities like React Native community, and some of them are handled by Google, Facebook, and so on. So we can trust them. We can use the code given by them, and code is there, open source. So there's nothing wrong by using it. Uh, so that's actually a very easy way to develop a big application within few days actually. Okay, so these terminologies I need you to bit remember, but don't uh, don't actually go run behind the theories. From this point onwards, we can actually look into the hands-on session, but it's better to keep these words in your mind, and a basic idea of what they are doing. So in future, if we are like dig deep into these technologies, this will be very much valuable to you guys. So what's a component? Component is something like a building block actually. So let's imagine we have a login page. We can identify it as a component. So within those components, we can see lots of child components. For an example, uh, the input field to type the username, or the input box to type password, and the login button. So those are child components. Even the login button we can divide into another sub components, like the button and the text appearing middle of that button. So that's how we build the application. First build the button and then text boxes, and by combining all the components, we can create a big component which we called as login component. So these components can be reused. So let's imagine we have a forget password page. So we can use the same button or the text input we used for build the login button. But if you see clearly, the login button says login, but when it comes to forget password page, that button should say forget password. So how we are going to change the behavior of that button to support reusability? So for that, the property concept is there. So if you are creating a component, you can define lots of properties inside it, and we can send a set of commands through that properties to change internals of that component. Let's get the same example back. I am defining a login button, and I put a property inside that component called text. So whatever the text that I send from parent component to my login button will shown inside the login button. So in the login page, when I use in the component, I say text equal login. So the button will show uh, login text inside the button. When it comes to forget password page, and when I using that button component, I'm sending the text as forget password. So the button will appear as forget password. So that's how the components are built. So we can define any number of properties inside a component, and we can actually handle the behavior of the component by sending uh, different values through properties. Hope you got a sort of a clear but simple idea regarding components. So that's sort of a Lego piece which we are using to build big applications. And even we can send properties with colors or else shape, like board radius and other stuff. And we can keep customizing the same component in different ways. Actually, we can use the same button component throughout our application if we customize it very carefully by using properties. Okay, so what's a state? State is something actually help us to behave the component, something like properties. But the main difference between property and a state is, now properties we can handle from the from the parent actually. So we can pass values from outside to inside of the component, but states are not like that. States cannot be handled from out of the property. So inner states are only for the usage of internal works of the component. So let's say we need to we need to show a button in red color when it pressed. So we can define a state inside that button and change the color from the initial color to red. uh, yeah, property is something that we discussed earlier. And this is a short grid to show what are the differences between props and state. So as I explained, properties can be passed from parent, and state is there to uh, use internally. And by using properties, we can create a component very reusable way. And we can use state in order to change component, and even we can keep some of the valuable data inside the component, but whenever we kill the app, state will be cleared. Okay, so just another step, but we are not using this concept in this concept in today's hands-on session. But need you to keep posting about Redux. Redux is something that actually we are using inside React Native applications. I mean, most of the applications are using, not like pet projects, but in industrial projects we are using it. It's sort of managing application state. So whatever the things that we need to save, we can create a Redux store and save it. Like if you are familiar with Android, we're using SQLite. So in here we use Redux, and I uh, I recommend you to learn about Flux architecture if you are interested. After this session, you can go and search, and that's bit aligned with Redux, and we have few of the recommended way to data flow in React Native applications, which actually shows in this simplified diagram. So this is a component that we discussed. Actually, we can imagine this as a login page, and as we discussed, we have two input fields and a login button. Whenever we input these two login details and press the login button, that's the action. So action, the job of the action is to uh, trigger a action and send data to reducers, and it doesn't know anything afterwards that. So whenever we click on the login button, we say username and password uh, uh, to the action, and action will call reducers and push the data, and reducers are there to save the data, and it do the manipulation, the needed manipulation, and save it in the store. And from there, uh, we make now we make the button like loading, and we can pass the person to the next page, so UI will get updated. Okay, so I'm skipping this slide because I don't need to flood you with theories, and we'll look into creating a application with React Native. Okay, guys. So this is the application that we are need to we are going to develop. Actually, this is a slide set that we are doing for lots of in lots of sessions, and depends on the crowd. We are like customizing the things. This is a sort of very simple movie application, and there's a scrollable list, and we can click on a button and we can open the browser, and that will display the movie. So that's it. And before developing the application, first of all, we need to identify the components used here. Components in the sense, let's let's say this big screen is a component. Then we have subcomponents like header and the body part. So something like this. So inside the body of the this view, we have different set of sections. So I think you guys are a bit familiar with HTML, and I hope you know the div tags and other elements that we are using in HTML, like image or its headers and other stuff. So as we are dividing the space from div tags, we can divide the space using view tags in React Native. So we have one view here and another big view here, and inside that we have different set of list items embedded in a scroller view. So inside even one list item, we have again set of components. This is a sort of image component, and then text and a button component. Again, if you can see inside the button component, we have a text component. That's how the app is getting built up. But some of the things we don't need to develop by ourselves. So text components are given by default, button components are given by default, image components are given by default, but this list item we should create by ourselves by combining those default components. And again, by aggregating these different list items, we are supposed to develop this list view and embed in this big component after this header component. Okay, so guys, let's go to Visual Studio Code, and let's try to develop the application. Uh, okay, so first of all, now we should configure our environment. So that's a bit time consuming task, but as a summary, we should we should first start with Node.js, and we should install Android Studio and one or two SDKs there, and then we should go with uh, React Native CLI and few of other Java and other stuff. Those things can be easily find in their official documentation. It's a React Native.dev, and all the steps are listed under environment setup section. So once you set up your environment, how we are going to start a React Native project? So from the community, they have they are giving us sort of a bundle which we can use as a template uh, as the first step. So on top of that, we can develop our application. Okay, so we have two options. I recommend you to go with React Native CLI, but it's okay to go with Expo CLI as well. But when it if it's a long running project, Expo will create some of the limitations when it comes to do native development within your React Native applications. So I'm go with React Native CLI quick start, and if you scroll bit down, since I have developed my environment, I can straight away start a project. So this is the command to start a React Native project, and that will clone a basic template which we can use and build our requirements on top of this application. Let's go to a terminal. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a Windows machine, you go to a CMD. So here I go with the terminal, and I need to specify a directory which I'm going to clone the setup. So I have a directory. Okay, so I'm in that folder. I am pasting the command that I copied from the official documentation, and if you can see now, when we're initializing a project, the command is npx react native init the project name. So I don't want to go with awesome project name, so let's go and uh, give a name like React Native demo. Okay, now this will take around 5 to 10 minutes, depends on your network connectivity and the speed. So I'm stopping this as I have already cloned a project, and that is very similar to, I mean, it's exactly similar to this project. So this is something that I downloaded from React Native official documentation. So if I go inside it, these are the initial files and directories which they are giving to us. So I'm going to open this project in a VS Code. Okay, so first of all, let's have a peek view uh, on the files and initial directories they are creating for us. this test is to put unit test cases, and here we are not going to discuss about that. And Android is to put all the native related uh, changes or the implementation inside it, and we can run this Android folder as a separate Android project. uh, and iOS is much similar to the explanation that I given to Android. We can run this iOS project, iOS directory, as a separate iOS project. So here, if you can see, we have a usual content of an iOS project, and node modules, as in all other JavaScript projects. All the npm install mod the commands that we are using, npm install, the modules installed into our application will be going inside this directory. So whenever, let's say, we are going to install some sort of datetime module, so if we go with the npm install datetime, that module will be installed inside this npm module directory. And again, one of the important file is this app.js. I keep this file opening, and going to check other files, and we will be revert back to this file. um, so index.js is also a very important file. This is the file that we are actually uh, uh, I mean coming to the coming as the first step. So whenever we start the React Native application, this is the file that get triggers. So from here it says open or the use app. What is app? It's the file that we opened previously, app.js. And this is sort of package.json. I think almost all the people are a bit familiar with this. If you are running Angular or Node or any JS project, this will be there to keep track of all the installed npm modules and dev dependencies, scripts, and other stuff. Okay, so the files that are important to us is this app.js. All right, by keeping as it is, I'm going to run this application and show you what are the things that they are giving to us. So let's go with Android Studio, as most of you are on Android. I'm going to open Android Studio. And we need a uh, um, uh, device to run this one. You can use your mobile device, or else use the SDK created from this AVD manager. So I start a device, and meanwhile I type the command in which we need to run this in the simulator. So it's react dash native run dash Android. Okay, so React Native run Android. Okay, now we got a running simulator, and I'm executing the command. as you can see, we got a sort of terminal popped up, and some of the task is running there. And right after completing it, will be visible with the running application in the simulator. Okay, we got it. So this is the content actually they are giving as a fresh application. So this is how we are going to run it in Android. So uh, I'm closing this and going to show you how to run it in iOS, and then we'll try to customize the application. So I close this one, and I have running a simulator in with iOS, running the application. Meanwhile, so let's check the code given by them and try to remove a set of jargon and keep the things very uh, understandable way. So I'm going to remove some of the content here. So if you can see, those tags are very much similar to something we are using to code HTML HTML pages. So nothing else than that. Only few of the terminals are different than HTML. These are the styles that given to style that page, and these are much similar to CSS. But when it comes to CSS, the command is something like this. But here we omit this dash, and instead we use camel cases. So I'm collapsing this to keep it simple, and remove some of the okay. Okay guys, so the only thing we have is now see your screen, uh, see your changes. So we'll save it, and now app is running. Once I save it, it got changed to see your changes. So here we can go with okay. So that's it. So it's very easy. Let's copy this, and let's remove this set of code as well. Yeah, so if you check the code very carefully, what you can see is we have a component called status bar, which is responsible for this set of part. And again we have a safe area view. So this is to as a wrapper to this set, and inside it we have text component called hello React Native, and we have a style given to it, and style is a property to this text, as I explained in my theory part. So what is this section title? Let's go and go to definition. Okay, it's inside this style sheet. Now what if I change the color to something else? Let's go with some gray color. Okay, now it's gray. So that's how we are giving styles. That's it. So it's very easy. For the time being, I have created a repository to you all, and you all can get a clone from it and play with it. And it has set of branches defined, so that step by step it is guiding you to do the code. So let's go, and so this is it. I will post the URL in the chat so you can copy it. Here we have a set of branches. So there's a branch which is called simplified code. So I'm going to check it out. Okay, so this is very simplified set of code that is that that we can easily understand. So after that, now our plan is to build the application. So for that, let's go back to the diagram. Okay, now we have this big view. So inside that, how we are going to put this small header and the full content of the body container. So if you can remember, in HTML called uh, we have a concept called table or grid. So likewise that we have flex boxes in React Native. Let's go and search for flex boxes in uh, React Native. Okay, flex boxes in React Native. Okay, so we are directing to the same official page. And there we have, I mean, almost all the usage of flex boxes, and we can directly copy content from there to our code, and we can test it actually. So I'm going to copy one of the code and paste it in our application. Okay, okay, so the result explained there is now can be visible in our app. So how I'm going to create this header and then the body part? So for that, if you clearly see the code, we have a flex direction and it's given as row. So in that sense, all the child elements will be arranged in a way that expands into the left side. So I'm going to make it as column. So how I'm know about this column or row properties? That's in the documentation. So if we go back to the documentation, see, try setting flex direction to column. So that's very easy. So they have all the things given. So if I provide the property name as column, the result will be like that. If I provide the property name as column reverse, the result will be like this. So you can try out every possible way and get into your knowledge and do the application. And I will erase this set of styles. And now I need only two components, one for header and another for the body. I'm going with now I need to divide the content with 1:9 ratio. So this is if this one is 100%, I need to provide 10 for this and 90 for this. So go with 100 and flex 10 and flex 90. And I'm going to provide some colors. Color. Okay, I'm getting colors from this one again. Okay, we should provide a width. Okay, now we have the arrangement. We need to provide the ratio. Let's go with the flex 1. Okay, we'll go with the height. Sorry for confusion. Okay, so it's something like this, but actually we should go with flex. I don't know, something is wrong with my code. So for demonstration purpose, I will show you how to divide the sections. So let's go with having a one view with the list item. So we'll go to the code and get the next branch. Okay, so guys, let me explain the code here. So now we try to implement two components for header and the bottom. So this is the implemented code for header, and this is the implemented code for the body. So both of them are wrapped inside one big view, which is explained here. This orange color view, and inside we have the blue color movie header and the body. and these are the reflections of the code for header and the body. If we look into the header styles, now we have given flex 1 and direction is row. So internal child element should be arranged in a way that flow to left side. And if we look into the child elements, we have a text item with the name of movies. So this movie text is created inside this header element, and it's a text tag, text component. And to uh, to maintain its color and the font size, we have given few styles. Font size is 20, text align to mid center, and margin from left is 20, color is black. So color is black, margin to left is 20, text align to center. Okay, so if we collapse the header and if we check the body part, we have few elements listed. First one is single list item container. So in this step, we are going to implement one single list item inside the component. So one of this list item will be shown inside the UI, inside the body component. So in order to create this list item, should be we should have one image tag and a text component, and again another text component to show few information, and a button component. So in the code, we can see inside the body container, we should have a single list item container. So this is it, and inside it we have a thumbnail container and information container. Why is that? So in order to make the arrangement inside this list item, we have divided the space into two, one for image and one for other information. So the thumbnail container will contain the image component, and the section we divided into information will have the the movie title information and the button container. Okay, so this is the thumbnail container. So inside this we should have the image tag. So image is there. Style, we have given the width and uh, height, and the border radius is set to 10 in order to make it round. And then again we have given the source of the image. So what's it? It's a sort of a URL to fetch the information from internet. So we'll go to the browser and search it. So this is the image that we are going to provide as the image of the thumbnail. Okay, so that is how we render the image tag. So inside the section that we are declared for information, we have the movie name and the movie information text and the button. So we can use the default button given by React Native, but it's not very customizable. So we are creating another button by giving a color and a name. So here we are providing the movie name with the information defined in this object. So its name, thumbnail, year, duration, and YouTube URL is given here. So information can be accessed through uh, the name of the object and then the parameter. So name of the object and title will return this Marvel's Avengers Infinity War, the text. Okay, so inside the section we declared for information, we have this text and the button. Okay, we'll save it and look into the changes in the UI. Okay, so as we explained in the code, now we have the movie header and one of the uh, movie list item. So how I'm going to populate this list item into the scroller view. So let's search it. We have set of list items. List components can be used for this job. So let's go with React Native list flat list. So in the official documentation, we have the different options we can use for lists, and we'll try to get use of one of that inside our code. Okay, now this is one of list, and we'll try to use it inside our code. Okay, so we have a set of data defined as in our code. It's a data object with 3 of the titles here, and uh, down here we have a flat list, and this will actually help us to render the um, uh, list items from a data array. So let's go and copy this one into our code. I'm going to use body container, and inside it I'm going to put my copied list item. Okay, we should import this flat list from React Native. So copy that, and from okay, and we should provide the data. So for data, we should get the object from here. So the list will be rendered according to this data. Defining the array of object on top of the code, and we should tell them now how the list item should be like. So here list item is something with the background color of rose or purple, and then inside it we should render the name given in the array. So for that we should define the list item like this. So copy that again, here. Okay, and we should provide the styles as well. Okay, so it's almost I did copying from the official documentation, and then we can see how we are going to map it into our code. So we have the list here, and what we need to do is get this one of this list item into uh, this set of list items. So we have to replace now this item. We should replace with single list item component that we actually created with thumbnail and the information. and provide, sorry, yeah, provide the necessary details into that. So what we are going to do, we should manage to modify this list item with the existing list item that we created, with the icon and the details, and we should provide a data list which can feed this list item with image URLs and movie name and the link to watch the movie. So we have a separate branch for that. uh, so it's a home page completion. Let's go and look the code for that. Okay, so I'm going to compare the things that we did from the official documentation and in our code. So if you can see now, we have get the flat list as described in the official documentation. We have the flat list, and we should declare how the one of a single list item should be, and it is defined in a render item. Okay, now item should be something like this. So this is not something new to us, because we actually created it, uh, uh, single list item, and then a thumbnail container and information container, and inside it the components that we discussed are still residing. So this is, we actually copied and put it into a separate method. That's it. Yeah. So list item is here, and how these images are getting changed from each one to the next item, that's from the list feeded to the list view. So that can be found in here. It's a different file that I declared inside outside the component, and that even can be uh, copied and paste inside our code even. Okay, so we have a data array as we can see it in the official documentation, uh, and we have again the rest of the code, and still it's working. So now we are going to click one of the item and see it's navigating. How we are going to do it? First we should go inside the button, and okay, now this is the watch button, and we for button we have a method called onPress, which will get triggered when click on that button. So the next problem is how we are going to open the browser from React Native. So for that, we'll search how to open a browser from React Native. Okay, here we have lots of support, and okay, now this is the command. So this actually sorry, this is the command, linking open URL, and we should provide the URL. So by copying that and pasting it will work for our application. So I'm going to write it down and explain you what happened. And now this is the command, and we should provide a URL from where we are getting the URL. Now for each list item we have data array posted, and this link we should provide it there. So this link will navigate to the YouTube, and by putting that link into the uh, link in command will navigate user to the YouTube opening the browser. But the problem is for each of the list item we should go with the different URL. So that is handled by flat list, and what we need to do is specify it with item data and the YouTube URL. From where we are getting the item URL, it's from the flat list provided by React Native. So here we are providing the data array to flat list, and data array will populate each one of the item and push it to each of the item. So here he will get the all the items, and for each of the list item it will create an item object and push it to item data, and that item data can be accessible through uh, the one of the list item that is uh, getting rendered in the flat list. Okay, so by clicking on one of the button given in the list item, we can go and check the video. Okay, so that's the planned content actually for the React Native application. Now what's next? uh, I know it's bit harder to cover all the things in 1 hour, but since you will get the link to the repository, you can go and check each code and check the difference between each branch and understand it. So if you are going forward with this point, what you need to learn is learn bit of Flux architecture. That's something about how data is getting transferred from components, actions, and to reducers, and then study on Redux or equivalent technology, so you can persist data inside your application, and then onwards you can create industrial type applications. So for that, this directory structure will not suit. uh, you have to go with lots of components, so we should go with a different directory and create it in a scalable way. And again, after that, then you will get the problem of how we are going to publish the application. You can search how to build the application and sign the application and upload it to a Play Store, App Store. Yeah, those are the things that you should actually go and find once you are good with the technology. uh, yeah, that actually a sort of crash course. uh, Sorry if I miss something to you guys, because it's very hard to cover almost everything within this short period. I'm always open for questions. Let me go and get the link for the repository. Okay, I will add them into the chat. Okay, guys. So uh, we can conclude this mobile session. Isruo Anyone else to carry out the session?
Yeah, thank you, Amalaya. So, guys, if you guys have any questions regarding any of the sessions that we did, you guys can raise them now. You can ask anything, like we'll try our best to answer. So maybe about Hacktoberfest, maybe about using JIT, or maybe about anything related to React Native or React or anything. As long as it's within our possibility to answer, we'll see. So yeah, if you have any questions, please free to raise them. Okay, then. Okay, so Padma has asked a question. How to solve can't automatically merge? Don't worry, you can still create the pull request. Yeah, so most of the time, so can't automatically merge happens. So basically, that means you might have a merge conflict. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to check. So merge conflict occurs when two people have developed on the same file or maybe a same code snippet. So in that case, so what you could do is you have to check whether compare between the two changes. So the change that have been done by you in your local repo and the change that is existing in the remote repo, which have been done by another developer. So then you have to compare them and understand what would be the most suitable one, whether the development that have been done by the other person, or is there anything that could be taken from the development done by the other person and can be enhanced by the code that have been done by you. So you have to check and resolve the merge conflict that has occurred. So in that case, JIT will automatically add annotations at the areas that have with the merge conflicts. So if you use editor something like Visual Studio Code, you could simply easily see all these changes, have two separate tabs comparing these changes, and then have them resolved. So you could accept whether you want to keep the incoming changes from the remote repo, or you want to keep the change that has been done in your local repo. So likewise, you have to check and resolve the merge conflicts. And then once you resolve the merge conflicts in that file, you have to add it back into another commit. You have to create a new commit with the resolved merge conflict, and then you can afterwards push it to your pull request. So in that case, the merge conflict will be resolved, and you could go ahead and have the pull request be merged to the master branch. Is there any stage management tool other than the Redux? I think Omalaya could answer that.
Yeah. These days, Mobex is a very good candidate for that, and even with functional programming, uh, which we are using in React and React Native, it's very easy to use. We can go with Mobex.
Also,
Okay.
there's another question regarding
Yeah.
mobile development.
As a beginner in mobile development, what is easy and most valuable to learn? React Native, Flutter these days. Okay, now it's sort of a subjective question. Flutter is also very good. Honestly, it's bit faster than React Native. So depends on your interest. You can decide what you are going to do. The main advantage with React Native is we can go with JS or TypeScript. But if you are learning Flutter, you might need to put extra effort to find learning in another language. But that's actually worth. um I feel uh, the both of the technologies are like um, they are like competitors, and there's nothing wrong with going one of one of that. In the industry, I see bit lagging with Flutter. I don't know the exact reason, but React Native is highly used. Yeah, that's the explanation. But as a developer, I cannot actually provide you with a one technology as a developer. Yeah.
Can you briefly explain creating context in React and React Native? And what is the difference between context parsing and state parsing to a different component? Yeah. Omalaya, maybe you could answer it better.
Yeah. Um, can you briefly explain creating context in React and React Native? Mm, could you bit rephrase it? I'm unable to get it.
Dilak, you could unmute your mic and maybe raise your question, so it's easier to explain.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, Manu.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
This is create context and use context. You say that we are using in the functional components with use states and such state updates. So we
Yeah.
are using create context to create context like passing such kind of states and props to every component we are using. So what is the difference between states passing to this every component and context passing to the different component?
Okay. I'm uh, bit not confident with the context passing, but state passing in the sense now when it comes to class components, we need to pass the message to the next component. So if we have a big component and we are communicating it with child components, we might need to send the information to child component. So in that case, we are passing the state of the parent component to the child components. Um, but it's bit different when it comes to hooks and functional programming. Um, uh, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
related to functional programming, I think so. Basically, if you use like something like a use state hook, then basically you have to pass the state if you are passing down to a child component. From my knowledge, so in our project we are using functional components in React. So basically, in use state, you have to basically pass the values as props to the child. But if you are using use context, I think you could like have them as global values. So basically you don't have to pass them as props. Once you set something as using the use context hook, you can basically access them from childs without having to pass them as props, I guess. I'm not sure if I'm exactly correct on that. I guess you'll have to little bit research more on that. But from my understanding, I think that's what it does.
Yes, as I know, the use context hook comes with the context API, the state manager. So it is similar to Redux and MobX, as I know.
Okay. Any other questions? What is the meaning of invalid pull request? Can you please explain that rule of Hacktoberfest? So basically, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but I guess you are referring to pull requests that have not been accepted to Hacktoberfest, I guess. So like I said, always make sure that you are doing something that is uh, so so basically, like I said, always make sure that the code that you are like whatever the feature. So basically, what I said, uh, check whatever the issues that are in that repo. So in the issues tab, you can see what issues have been reported under that repository. So those are the currently things that they're looking into most of the time. So in that case, if you could contribute to one of those issues, that would be better. So in that case, so now let's say let's say they have some like we don't have validation in this certain text field. So in that case, so they have reported as a issue. So then you could start working on that feature in a separate branch in your forked repo. So likewise, if you are like doing something related to that repository that have been reported as an issue or that is in the roadmap. So basically, most of the repositories have a roadmap outlining what they are planning to achieve within their certain timeline. So in that case, check what they are planning to do. So make sure that whatever that you are doing is actually contributing to that goal that they are trying to achieve. So always make sure. So rather than doing updating the readme file and those kind of simple stuff, you have to make sure like you could contribute in a way that is very meaningful. Like maybe it could be maybe documentation, but make sure that you do a good portion of it, like maybe explaining what the repository is doing, whatever the features that are available in the software that is basically the soft like whatever the features that are in the software. So likewise, always make sure what you're doing is meaningful, and maybe to the whoever is that are the end users of the application, or maybe a feature that will actually contribute to improving the application. So in that case, the whoever is moderating your pull request will know that this will actually contribute to the pull request. So ultimately, the contributors or the moderators that are maintaining the repo will be deciding whether to accept a pull request or not, depending on whether your pull request is relevant to what they are trying to achieve, whether it is actually contributing. So in that case, if it is not contributing to the repo, I guess they will mark it as an invalid pull request. That's my understanding of it. So yeah, always try to make sure that your code is up to their contributing guidelines and up to their standards, whatever the style guides they have given. So make sure always that you're following to their code of conduct and always maintaining the contribution guidelines when you're creating pull requests. So it's always better to contribute to a issue that has been reported in the repository. So yeah, any other questions? All right, since we have already passed more than the time that we have been allocated, I guess we'll conclude the session then. If there's any more questions, maybe you could raise. So uh, I guess we all could turn on our cameras and take a group photo, if it's possible. Sudhar, you guys are at the university?
Yes, sir.
Ah, okay. Okay, we'll take a little more time for everyone to get their cameras on. Right. Okay, guys, keep your cameras on. I'll take a few screenshots. Okay. Okay, I'm yet to see more cameras turning on. Come on, guys, turn on your cameras. Okay. All right, thank you, guys. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I must voice the thoughts of everyone present here by saying that it was a huge privilege to participate in this session. And from the areas that were covered during the past 2 hours, we were able to gather some valuable knowledge about like open source contribution and of course the React Native that would definitely aid us in the future. And on behalf of Mozilla Campus Club of UW, I would like to thank Isroaya, Omalaya, and Netmiaka for sharing this knowledge with us. And special thank should goes to 99X who always give support to undergraduates, and not forgetting all the participants who joined with us. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Yeah, also thank you guys for having us, for reaching out to us to conduct this session. Thank you, Sudharaka and the team, for having us on board of this session. Yeah. Any Okay, over to you, Sudharaka. So I guess.
Like like Olay and Yasan said that, and I think time is a little bit past, more than 30 minutes. So I think it's time to wind up the session. And thank you again, Aya and Akka, and took to today support. So thank you very much, all, and let's wind up session.
Okay, then see you guys.
Bye bye, guys.
If you guys do need any more sessions, reach out. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. So keep in touch. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.
I'm good.
No.